Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ally.
And this is the But Have You Tried Bookshelf.
Yeah, I always feel like
I can
it's like
hear
I
it.
try to imagine music and
the music.
we should do a little dance.
Vibing through me.
Yep.
Yes, this is But Have You Tried from the David A. Howe Public Library. Wherever you're listening to us, welcome. If you're listening to us at our new time slot of Wednesdays at 4 p.m. on 92.7 out of Angelica, hope you're enjoying your afternoon commute, everybody.
Absolutely, yes.
Today, we are talking about the things that we've been reading and watching while I prepare to talk about Joan of Arcadia.
You know, for a really long time, I was confused about like actual Joan of Arc, the saint, because I knew
Yes.
about Joan of Arcadia, and they were like similar enough.
Right.
And I was confused. I was just confused.
So why is there some specific connection or no?
Joan of Arc heard God talking to her. So that's kind of what Joan of Arcadia is.
I see.
There's like definitely some parallels and some referencing.
Okay. Well, I hope it ends better for Joan of Arcadia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The end for Joan of Arc was a little rough.
It
but
was. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Ally, let me put it to you. What have you been getting into these last couple weeks? What number of crayfish do you have? Is everybody still intact from where they were the last time?
All crayfish are still intact, all three
That's
of
good.
them.
Okay.
Our crayfish Michael just molted in the last 2 days.
Oh.
And she is enormous now. She's the biggest one, but like also
That's
somehow
funny.
always the one who's most afraid of just like everything.
Okay.
So we pulled Winnie, her tank mate, out into like a little ice cream quarantine bucket.
Okay.
Because we didn't want him to harass her while she was still weak. Because they're like kind of squishy after they like first molt.
Oh.
Squishy is maybe the wrong word, but they're like
It's a gross
soft
word.
a little bit.
It's certainly gross.
So their legs are kind of bendy and everything. So anyway, I think after lunch today, Winnie will be allowed to go back into the tank.
Oh.
But everyone still seems to be doing well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not that you asked, but my pets are fine too. They're all.
You have like a lot of pets, right?
I do. Nobody's molting. Yeah, everybody's fine.
Okay.
Everybody's
that's
fine.
Good. That's
Though
good.
we have taken to kind of keeping the dogs more separate than we used to because Arbuckle, our little dog, is getting very old. And Meredith, our younger dog, is, I think, confused by his oldness, and it's turned into a little bit of like a weirdness between them. So not great. We're living in a series of airlocks at the moment. And
That's so weird.
I'm not loving it. But Tortoise is fine. The two cats are fine. Everything's good.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. Do you remember my tortoise's name? There's bonus points for you. Tip of your tongue. Time up. It's Nelson.
Oh.
Nelson the tortoise. Did you know that?
I don't know if I did know that.
Well,
I was going to guess like, I don't know. I was like searching for like Paul McCartney or something. I could see you naming it.
Your instincts are good. Your instincts are good. Yep. Okay. Well, aside from pets, what else have you been getting into? Have you watched any good movies as of late?
I have watched some good movies.
Okay.
I always have the hardest time remembering what movies I've watched.
That's
so
why
I'm just
I
like,
use Letterboxd.
I know.
Shout out to
I
Letterboxd.
really need to do that.
Yep.
Instead, I just like frantically text Caleb the morning that we're recording. And
Yeah.
I was like, what have we even watched lately?
Yeah.
We are in the process of watching Pride and Prejudice, which is a mini series.
We covered this, Ally.
I know.
This is over and done.
But I consider it a movie because it's all one thing.
Are we talking like Colin Firth?
Yeah, the Colin Firth one.
Okay. Is this like an annual thing for you? How often do you watch this Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice? Be honest.
Probably at least once a year. I watched
least.
a lot more when I was like in high school and
at
college.
minimum once a year. So it could be more. It could be more.
It could be more.
Okay. All
I've
right.
probably seen it upwards of 12 times in my lifetime.
Okay. All right.
There was a period where it was like every time I had a sleepover with my friends in high school, we would watch it and then something else as well.
That's funny.
Yeah. It
That's
was
funny.
It was excessive. But Caleb has never seen it.
Oh, okay.
And sometime recently I was like, you know how we have plenty of shows that we're already watching? What if instead we watch Pride and Prejudice?
Toss it into the mix. Yep.
So we've been working on that gradually.
Okay. Does he like it? Is he a fan?
I think so, yeah. He's not like a huge fan, but he seems to be enjoying it. Some of the humor is fun, and it's very well done as an adaptation. So
if this is your first episode of But Have You Tried, it's a perfect time to go back and listen to our whole Jane Austen Spotlight.
Absolutely.
Where I insulted people by comparing it to 90210. But it's neither here nor there. So Pride and Prejudice, what else you got going?
I recently watched The Adam Project.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay, it has one of the Ryans, and I'm pretty sure it's Ryan Reynolds.
One of the Ryans. Okay, it is
They're
Ryan
very
Reynolds.
distinct in my mind, but I sometimes forget which name is what, if that makes sense. Like, I know who is who, but I sometimes just get confused.
Okay.
Anyway, it's like a little bit of a time travel family action movie.
I love me some time travel.
Right?
Okay.
He goes back in time and meets his kid, 12-year-old self. And then he naturally has to get his kid, 12-year-old self to team up with him and save the world and save all of time and everything.
It's kind of a stacked cast as I look at it here.
Yes.
Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
I did watch some sci-fi things myself. I watched Blue Beetle. Do you care about Blue? You had no reaction. I said Blue Beetle, and
just
your
total
eyes
deadpan,
glazed over.
Poker face.
Blue Beetle, based on a DC character of
I've
the same name.
been seeing a lot of things about Blue Beetle coming up lately, but I don't really have any knowledge of Blue Beetle.
Okay. Basically, there's this alien tech that's like a scarab, and it bonds with this kid, and then he can't shake loose. The scarab has a sentience as well, so it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship, and he's sort of learning to control it. So it is a DC Comics movie, but it doesn't really feel to me like a superhero movie. It feels more just like action comedy sci-fi. So yeah, I think you could be down. You don't have to know anything about Blue Beetle.
Okay.
There were some deep cuts that I appreciated, like knowing DC Comics lore, but you don't need it. So
how would you react if some sort of alien symbiotic sentient
chose you, selected me,
and attached to you, and you couldn't get it off?
I like to think I'd rise to the challenge. Yeah, I think I'd get some jobs done.
All right.
Probably I'd fly up to the top of the library and do some roof work and just all that stuff. Clean out some cobwebs that are hard to reach in here. What about you?
I feel like I'd be freaked out at first. Just conceptually, I feel like that would be upsetting, especially if you were like, well, I didn't plan this. But I like to think that I would eventually accept it and be able to work with it.
Yeah, you're a go-getter.
Thank you.
You're a go-getter. I could see that. I watched, No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, a comedy, kind of a raunchy comedy with Jennifer Lawrence, which was new for her. It was funny. It was not as funny as I wanted it to be. It was a little bit more heartwarming than I expected, but I ended it and was solid 3 stars. Good time.
Do you feel like Jennifer Lawrence has kind of disappeared?
Yes.
For a while?
I do. I'm not sure what happened.
I don't know either.
She won an Academy Award for Silver Linings Playbook, and then she was doing the X-Men movies, but it just sort of seems like nothing that really, that movie Joy, and then American Hustle, I think, was critically well received, but I don't know if she really was. I don't know. I don't know if she's not getting the right scripts or not choosing the right scripts, but I feel like there was a trajectory that she was on, and I don't know that she's on that same trajectory.
Well, I also feel like just in terms of fan awareness, I mean, at least. Some of this probably has to do with the people that I knew who were really obsessed with the Hunger Games and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But I feel like for a while she was a real kind of fan favorite celebrity and quirky and people loved that she would fall down and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it seemed like she was really big on the talk show circuit for a while there. When that was a thing. So I don't know. I agree. I have noticed that as well.
Yeah, and I feel like for so long she's just been off my radar, and then I think I saw some poster or something, probably for the movie that you just described.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I forgot all about her.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
It was decent. And she's very funny, so it was cool that she was doing comedy, but I don't feel like the movie utilized her quite in the right way. So, I don't know.
That's a shame.
Do you watch any comedy movies?
I watched a romantic comedy, if you count it a comedy.
Yeah.
Something from Tiffany's. Have you heard of this one at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I saw trailers for it a really long time ago, which I'm thinking was probably around Christmas because it's set around Christmas.
Yeah.
And didn't think about it at all. And then this weekend, my friend and I were like, you know what? Let's watch a good old romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And we found this one. And I have to say that I feel like romantic comedies can be really hit or miss.
Okay.
There are some really great ones, kind of in that classy vibe,
the
Meg Ryan ones.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I was waiting for you to say You've Got Mail. I was seeing the words form on your lips.
Yep. I also feel like there are so many that are just kind of mass produced and you watch them and you're like, well, that was an experience.
That is true.
And so I feel like more and more watching them has become just a surprise, how is this going to be? But it was really fun, and I thought it nailed a lot of the relational dynamics, and the acting was good, and the story was fun, and there weren't any moments. You know how so many romantic comedies have moments where you're if you could just talk to each other adults, and you just want to tear your hair out.
Yeah.
Just and there mostly there weren't any there weren't any I'm just ready to tear my hair out moments.
That's good.
So it was fun.
I'm looking at the cast. I don't recognize a lot of the names, but I see that it has Javicia Leslie in it, and she was Batwoman in the CW Batwoman show. She was great in that.
I also watched Big Miracle.
That whale movie? Okay.
Which I feel like anytime someone is oh, this is a whale movie, I'm kind of okay.
Yeah.
But then usually I watch it and I do actually have a good time.
I may have watched that movie. I may not have. I really can't remember. I remember when it was coming out. I feel like I watched it. Who's in it?
It's John Krasinski. And I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it, but it's like, I guess based on true events where these 3 whales were like trapped in this like open hole in the ice in Alaska.
Right.
And a bunch of people were like trying to get them out, and like the White House was getting involved, and like eco groups were like teaming up with like oil companies to like try and get the whales
help
out.
The whales.
It was very fun and engaging. They did finally get the whales out.
Thank
so
goodness.
That's what
I feel like I watched it, but I couldn't put money on it. But you liked it overall?
It was
fun.
It was
good, heartwarming?
Yeah.
Speaking of old school movies, I watched The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. Have you seen The Fugitive with,
I don't think
with
I have.
Harrison Ford? Okay, freaked me out as a child. I was way too young to be watching The Fugitive.
Oh, no.
But it's so good. It holds up. I really feel like if you watched it now, you wouldn't be like, this is dumb. This is dated. It's just good. He and Tommy Lee Jones are both great in it. Tommy Lee Jones, of course, has some classic lines in that. And I feel like, wait, before we continue this conversation, do you know who Tommy Lee Jones is?
Definitely not.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then listeners, I'm only talking to you. I'm not talking to Ally. But I think Tommy Lee Jones is peak Tommy Lee Jones in this movie. Like the things that you come to know and expect from Tommy Lee Jones, he does it in The Fugitive. Boy, I'm going to add this to the list, Ally, because I feel like at some point you need to watch The Fugitive and just know who Tommy Lee Jones is. Have you seen Captain America, The First Avenger?
Absolutely.
Okay, he's in that. Tommy Lee Jones is the guy at the beginning who's like, I don't want to take this kid. Give me somebody stronger. You know, like that guy.
I feel like I vaguely remember that guy.
Okay. Well, maybe if you saw a picture of him, you'd know.
Yeah.
Boy, speaking of people you don't know, I also watched Fast X or Fast 10 with Vin Diesel, a name that you don't know.
I know the name, but I have
don't know
very,
who he is. He's
very
Groot.
little understanding of who he is.
Groot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Pretty good. These movies are just off the charts crazy. Like, nothing makes sense anymore. Like, I was watching this movie and I was like, if the characters just took off into flight and just started flying around, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Oh my gosh.
But the cast is just getting ridiculous at this point. It's like everybody is in it. The villain this time was played by Jason Momoa, who, do you know Jason Momoa?
I do know
Aquaman,
who Jason Momoa is,
okay.
yeah. Haven't seen Aquaman, but I know who he is.
Jason Momoa, also peak Momoa in this. He just was having the time of his life. You could tell. If he told me he didn't have scripted lines and they were just like, Jason, say whatever you want, I would believe it. And he 100% sold it. But it was him. It was Alan Ritchson, who also played the Aquaman, but in Smallville. This was good. I didn't love number 9, and this one I felt like was just kind of like, throw logic out the window. This is just a big cartoon superhero movie. Nothing's off limits, and it was a good time. But it is a cliffhanger, so...
Oh.
Yeah, it left me wanting more. My wife kept walking through this movie when just the most absurd things would happen, and every time she's just like, how? How did we get here? And I'm like, I can't... You have to experience it yourself. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like I'm much less tolerant of cliffhangers in movies than in books.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
I'm down with that. It's the reason why I haven't seen the new Mission Impossible movie, because the movie's like almost 3 hours long and it's a part 1. And I'm just like, guys.
Oh, man. You just got to wait until the part 2 comes out and then you quickly watch the part 1 so you can see the part 2.
And then it's basically a full season of a TV series at that length. But whatever. I guess I'm grumpy. TV shows? What are you watching on the old tube?
Ahsoka, the new Ahsoka show.
Oh, yeah.
Have you watched any of it?
I have.
You're not into it?
It's kind of a snooze fest for me. I don't know. I want more from it. I feel like...
That's fair.
Things keep happening. It's like they pull their lightsabers and I'm like, okay, go ahead. You know? No one's going to die or be hurt. Nothing really game-changing is going to happen, but go ahead and... do it.
Do a little fight. Well, I feel like a lot of the appeal of lightsaber fights is more about just like the choreography and the vibes than actual stakes throughout Star Wars.
I can get in with that. Well, I mean, like Force Awakens, I think is a perfect example. The fight between Rey and Kylo Ren, neither of those characters is going to die. You know it.
Right.
But like, there's an emotional investment in that scene that I have not had in Ahsoka. And I loved Star Wars Rebels, and I like Ahsoka as a character, and I was ready for this show. But I'm just... Are you caught up?
I think there's one more episode that we have not watched.
Okay. Well, off mic, we can talk about that because stuff happens that I feel like is supposed to move you, and I remained on my couch during that. But are you liking
you remained
it?
Unmoved.
I cut you off.
I am
are you having a
liking
good time?
I feel like every time Caleb's like, oh, we should watch Ahsoka, I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's playing out differently than I expected. Like, it's the Ahsoka show, but I feel like Ahsoka has like the least main character energy so far.
She does.
Which I'm a little disappointed by because I think Ahsoka is cool as a character, and I loved what she did in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, this is going to be some great Ahsoka content. And then I feel like it's been like, we're going to introduce other characters who are also cool.
Yeah.
And I've been like, I mean, hey, I'm not mad about that, but I was expecting more like Ahsoka being Ahsoka.
I know, and I feel like particularly in television and films, I think we've moved away from the kind of narrative where you can look at a movie or show and just ask yourself, like, what does this main character want? I think that used to be a big part of the storytelling was like, from the get-go, you're supposed to know, like, where does this character want to be? And I don't think that's as true in modern shows. And, like, I think, you know, as just narrative style evolves, you just have to roll with that. But I do think that's a weakness of Ahsoka because, like, I don't know what her goal is. Like, I don't know what she wants. I don't know what is a win for her and what's not. I guess finding Ezra, but why?
Well, I think she also wants to hunt down Thrawn.
But why? You know what I mean? Like,
he's bad.
Bad? Okay. He's bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I am also sad that Sabine cut her hair because the purple and orange hair was really cool.
I'm glad you said it because, yeah, I was like, please don't cut that hair. Because it was a very cool
It was so
look.
cool.
It was a very cool
I was
look.
like, should I dye my hair purple and orange tomorrow? I'm definitely thinking about it.
Yeah.
Alas.
Are you going to?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Okay. We'll see.
I have thought about dyeing my hair orange.
Really?
But, yeah.
Orange.
But it hasn't happened.
I could see that.
Yep.
I could see that.
I was like, well, fall is coming. That'd be a perfect time. And
Yeah.
then usually what happens whenever I think about dyeing my hair, at least for the last like 5 or
Yeah.
so years, is I'm like, yeah, that would be a good idea. And then I like do nothing to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
And we just continue on as we have been.
My wife has gone with sort of a pinky violet kind of highlight. It's
that's
cool.
cool.
It's cool. She had blue for a while, and then she's kind of like moved into this other range, and it's a nice addition. So we'll have to keep listeners posted on Tumblr
hair
or on the library
situation.
Instagram as your hair changes. And mine. I recently got a haircut. We don't have to talk about it, but I did. It's the heat. I couldn't take it.
That's
I couldn't
understandable.
take it anymore. All right, so Ahsoka, yes, I have been watching that as well. I finished Insecure, HBO show with Issa Rae. Have you heard of it or seen it or anything like that?
I feel like maybe I've heard of it.
I'm pretty sure we have at least the first season on DVD here, but it's just really, it's good. It has soapy elements, but it's really just about like the main character, Issa. She plays kind of a version of herself, but her friend Molly are really the main force of the show. And like, as they kind of go through different stages in life and the way their friendship ebbs and flows and changes and everything, just a really good look at like a life. It's kind of like a 5-season slice of life, really. It was funny, and I was like fully invested in like the characters' journeys, whether it's like career stuff or friendship stuff or romance. I'm like really like, what's gonna happen? So I finally finished its 5th season, and I was really satisfied. I feel like they stuck the landing, and it worked. It was a kind of show where I was like, well, what can the ending be? Because we can't be building towards like some big like cataclysm or reveal. It has to be a much more like low key resolution, and it was, and it worked. So
nice.
I think the writing really strong. So yeah, I would recommend it. What else is on your watching list?
Also on my watching list, Heartstopper Season 2.
Oh.
It came out
Haven't watched the
sometime
frame of the show.
recently-ish.
Love the webtoon. I haven't seen the show.
The show is really good.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
well, maybe I have to.
It makes some changes, like not drastic changes. Mostly it adds some stuff.
Okay.
A little bit in Season 1, and some of it I was like, I'm not sure about this. But
Yeah.
like the way it played out, I was like, okay, this is fine. But I feel like even more so in Season 2, stuff that like totally makes sense with the books, but just is like fleshing out side characters more.
Okay.
And adding in some more stuff to kind of give it a more complete story on all the levels, which I feel like so far has been pretty successful.
Okay.
So far, I am rating Season 2
maybe
highly.
I'll dig in.
The episodes are short, so you can just like binge a
Are
bunch
they?
of them.
Like 20 minute, like
They're like 20-minute, half an hour-ish.
like sitcom-y length. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's like really easy to accidentally watch the whole show in 2 days.
And you feel like the characters are well represented, like
and I feel like the
feels
casting is
comic.
good.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Well, isn't Alice Oseman pretty involved in the show?
I'm pretty sure that's
so. I mean,
the case.
that's usually
A good
nice
sign.
to have the crossover
Yeah.
there. Speaking of creators being involved in their shows, I just watched the Adam Eve special for Invincible. Do you know Invincible at all?
I don't know if I do.
So it's a Robert Kirkman written comic book, and the comic ran for a long time, 130 issues or something like that, and it's one continuous narrative about this guy. Mark Grayson is the main character, and it's just about him and his family, and Adam Eve is one of the main characters in that. The comic is great. It's one of my all-time favorite comics. It's I feel like the most successful like superhero franchise that's not a Marvel or DC property. I just think it hits all the marks that you want in that, no pun intended. But it also works really well as like a family drama in a way that I think that often that kind of stuff doesn't work. So if you've never seen it or read it, I'm gonna have to put it. I'm gonna have to put it on in the hopper for But Have You Tried, because it's really good. So the first season came out, and it was solid. It moved some things around in the narrative. Things were exposed that I wouldn't have expected to be exposed so soon. The comic is really violent, but which I normally don't like, and I don't like the violence in it, but it's cartoony in a way that doesn't feel like visceral and gross to me.
Right. Yeah.
The show is a little bit more gross. Like the violence in the show does feel a little bit more gross to me, but
I feel like sometimes something in film can just seem a lot grosser than even though comic books are also like a visual medium in a way that just like reading something violent in a book is not.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's vague enough in a comic book that it's not as like I don't know, doesn't catch you as much.
I agree. So I did enjoy the show. The season 1 came out, I want to say in 2021. It's been a while. Season 2 not out yet, but they dropped this like one-off special that is just kind of like the origin of the Adam Eve character. So nice to have a little bit of a drop in there to catch up on the characters and everything. And Robert Kirkman, who created the comic, wrote the special, so it was
nice.
Again, felt exactly right because you have
good.
the original creator involved. Anything else on your watching list?
I think that's all for shows.
Well, I've been watching some Star Trek, Ally, because September 8th is Star Trek Day. It's the anniversary of when the original series aired. It's also the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the animated series. I rewatched the pilot of the animated series, and then Lower Decks Season 4 just dropped.
Oh.
And I watched the premiere of that. You still haven't gotten on Lower Decks yet?
I still have not.
Ally.
I just don't watch a lot of shows by myself, and there's like a finite amount of shows that Caleb and I can watch together.
I see. Also a quickie. It's like 20 minutes an episode.
Okay.
So
that's good to know. That
it's
does
so
help.
Funny. It's like, I think if you know all the things about Star Trek, there's a lot more for you to dig into, but I think it just works as like a workplace comedy, with decent sci-fi storytelling involved too. It shouldn't be as successful as it is, and yet it works. So I did that for Star Trek Day. I also read a Star Trek Discovery graphic novel called Aftermath, which deals with Spock and Pike coming into the Discovery world. Pretty solid. But I read a Star Trek Discovery novel called Wonderlands by Una McCormick. Una McCormick does a lot of Star Trek writing these days, and she's really good. So, usually if she wrote the book, it's a good sign that I'll enjoy it. And this was a really good story. It was about the character of Michael kind of on her own, flung far into the future and just having to kind of deal with being alone and having everything be different. Really well-written book, really good character piece, and I think the best Discovery novel so far.
Nice.
So, are you doing anything for Star Trek Day? Have you gotten into the spirit?
I am reading a Star Trek graphic novel, which is this is my first step into Star Trek literature.
Okay. All right.
Per se.
Okay.
And I have to say, it is kind of weird to be reading and see Jean-Luc Picard and Worf and Data and everyone and be reading their dialogue and kind of hearing their voices.
You do the impressions in your head.
Well, I have to. Otherwise, I feel like it would just be really weird.
Okay.
But it's definitely a strange experience. And I feel like there haven't been a lot of things that I've encountered first, as a movie or TV show and then read something about. I don't know. It's kind of cool, but it also feels weird, if that makes sense.
Okay. What is it? What are you reading?
So it's Star Trek The Next Generation Through the Mirror.
Oh, like a Mirror Universe story.
Yes.
I don't know if I've read that or not.
I looked up what are some good ones because I didn't know, and random people on the internet rated this one highly.
That's
so I was like,
do we have it in the collection?
We do. That's how I have it.
Okay, cool. All right.
So once I bring it back, then you can read it.
Then I can read it. Maybe I have. I have read some Next Gen Mirror Universe stuff. Jessica, who's on staff here, also a Star Trek fan. A few years back for Star Trek Day, we did an episode of How's Things on the novel Dark Mirror, which is because they never did a mirror episode in Next Generation.
I feel like it would have made sense to do one, honestly.
Yeah. They have the episode Yesterday's Enterprise where you see dark versions of the characters, and that's as close as you come, but they don't touch it. Whereas, of course, the original series and Deep Space Nine used it a lot, as did Discovery. So it's kind of cool to read books and graphics where you see the next gen characters in that mirror universe.
Right. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Well, that's cool. All right. Doing a little Star Trek reading. I approve, obviously.
Thank you. I'm also reading a few other things.
Okay.
I'm reading I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston for our Teen Pride book club.
Okay.
And We're
I
doing
read
like
Red, White, and Royal Blue
okay.
by that author.
I've been intrigued by, I don't know if it's a movie or a show that they're making that I keep seeing trailers for.
Okay.
That I've been kind of intrigued to watch that. I don't know if I would actually go so far as to
Red,
read
White,
it.
and Royal Blue?
Yeah.
I think it is a movie.
Okay.
I think so.
I feel like I see a lot more like short, like one season kind of miniseries stuff coming out than I used to. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know what this is.
I'm down for a good
that's coming
miniseries.
out.
I like that.
Right? Yeah.
Give me a 6-episode thing. Yeah.
Exactly. We're supposed to be reading this in like 5-chapter chunks so we can like gradually discuss it.
That's like old school book club vibes.
Right?
I like it.
I thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
But I've definitely read ahead and I'm almost done with it.
Okay.
So I'll just have to pretend that I don't know things that I know. Which I think
what's going to happen next?
Exactly,
You'll wonder
like,
aloud.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'll just like sticky note it really carefully and be like, all right, everything from here on I cannot remember.
Yeah.
But it's been fun so far.
Okay.
It's very much like John Green's Paper Towns.
Okay.
But gay is kind of like that's kind of how it is. And I think honestly I'm enjoying it more than Paper Towns.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just because I'm farther from that like age.
Yeah.
So like the angst doesn't bother me as much, but if it's actually just less angsty. But it feels less angsty in a way that I'm enjoying.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. I watched the movie Paper Towns forever ago in the All the Book Show. We did a spotlight on John Green, and I watched Paper Towns. I read Abundance of Catherines, and I read Turtles All the Way Down, which sucks. Oof. So, but I was intrigued by Paper Towns. I liked hearing that this book is kind of in that same vein does make me a little bit more interested.
It's been fun.
On the topic of book clubs, Allie and I are going to be doing a Banned Books book club live in person here at the David A. Howe Public Library, and we're reading The Hate You Give, which I don't know how, but I have never read The Hate You Give.
Yeah, that's kind of weird to me, honestly.
But that's on my currently reading list, and I am into it. That's my audiobook of the moment.
I also have my audiobook of the moment, which is Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
This is the third in the Morgan Crow series.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a junior fantasy series.
Okay. Does anyone turn into a crow?
No.
So it's not an anamorph situation. It's just
not an anamorph situation.
Okay.
Crow is her last name. But it's also like very much her vibe is like dark crow.
Like a crow.
Black. Yeah, kind of stuff.
And crows are smart.
They are.
They pretty much destroyed this building, dropping rocks dropping rocks down our drains. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not to mention the like just the crow poop.
It was everywhere.
I feel like a couple of the bushes still have like
they haven't rebounded. They haven't rebounded. Yep. We had to get a fake coyote.
That was a terrifying
That's how
fake
extreme
coyote.
it got. It was David A. Rower, as we like to call him. But he did the job.
That's
but it
true.
was
That's
scary.
all we can expect.
All right, so this is not about a crow, but about somebody named Crow.
Yes. It's a little bit of like that Harry Potter like she joins a magical world kind of situation and like she's now at this magical school. I feel like it's very unique overall in its fantasy world and how things are set up. And the characters are just really fun. I don't know if this is the last one or if more are coming out or there's another one that I don't know about yet.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying it a lot.
All right.
This is definitely like let me walk around the house and find something to clean while I listen to this.
You have not mentioned Dorothy Sayers even once.
We are reading the last Dorothy Sayers out loud in the mornings. We're like 3 chapters from the end.
All right.
I forgot about that.
This wasn't on my list, but while we're comparing things we're reading with our spouses, I've been reading Go Set a Watchman to Hillary. I read it back when it came out, and she'd never read it before. So I've been reading it aloud, mostly like while we're driving. It's good. I really like it.
All right.
How do you feel about it?
I haven't read it, and I have not read...
Oh, you haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird
To Kill a Mockingbird,
okay.
No. It was like the situation where like the whole time I was a kid, my parents were like, you should read this when you're older. And then eventually I just like forget that it's an option to read now, if that makes sense. But one of these days I will.
Yeah. I would kind of like reading Go Set a Watchman aloud makes me want to read To Kill a Mockingbird again because I've only read it once and I read it as an adult as well. It wasn't one that I grew up reading. So, and I think I would have been more into it if I had read it like as a teenager because it kind of plays better in that way. I feel like if it came out today, it would be class YA, but I think that it really would have hit a little harder then. So maybe I'll see if I can get my son to read it when he's pushing teens.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. So that's my aloud book. I finished a Jesse Stone book based on Robert B. Parker, but written by Michael Brandman called Damned If You Do. You know, it feels like Jesse Stone, but the writing's just not as strong as the Parker era, and so I have a little trouble.
That's disappointing.
Really making that happen. I also read one called Violetta by Isabel Allende. Have you read any of her stuff?
I haven't, but I've seen it everywhere.
Yeah. I knew going in that it was like telling the story of this woman through the course of her entire life. I knew that. like intellectually I knew that's what it was. But I was really interested into her childhood. Like when she was telling the story about the childhood, because it starts during like the Spanish flu, and it's kind of like pandemic to pandemic is the story. So interesting. And then it kind of jumps to her teenage years, and that was tough because I was like, but I wanted to see that all play out.
Right.
So it jumps to the teenage years, and I was like, oh yeah, I can get down on this. And then it jumps to the adult years, and I was like, and then it's like middle age. And it's just the more it goes, I was never as invested as I was in the very beginning.
That's a shame.
And some of that's on me. I you know, like I should have been able to handle those transitions a little better. But the story that was being told in like the, you know, the 20s to say the 40s was so interesting to me. And I just progressively got less interested in the book by the end. So I really liked her writing, and I'm not like going to give up on the author. I'm going to try another one of hers because I really think it was strong. But I think just something about the pandemic to pandemic, the closer we got to 2020, the less that I was invested in the characters.
I mean,
so.
I think some of that also could have to do with 2020.
That's true. That's
if
true.
we're being honest.
I don't know if you remember, but that sucked.
It was
a bad time.
It was a really bad time.
I did learn to play the ukulele, but other than that, it was.
There was like a few good things
rough.
that came out of the pandemic, like sea shanties became popular again.
Only
so that
you
was
would
definitely
list that,
a win.
Yeah, it was a big time for the sea shanty. Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember a lot of like sitting in my house being like, I'm alone and I want to go to the store and buy licorice without being sick with the plague.
Licorice, you missed licorice. Was the thing.
I had this like sudden extreme desire for licorice as soon as we like couldn't go out and buy licorice.
Try that, but also having a 5-year-old. It was a rough time for us.
Bad times.
During that time. He was 6 actually, but it was still. Kindergarten was not fun for us. You reading any graphic novels other than Star Trek?
I am not. I did check one out that is on my planned to read next list. Oh, actually, I forgot that I did read like 2 volumes of Which Had It Till There. That counts as a graphic novel.
I love it.
Somehow manga is different in my mind from graphic novels, even though it probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so, and I think there's some more that are out in English that we don't have, so now I need to buy those for the collection.
Yes.
Not only so that I can read them, but so that others can also read them. So
it's not just an abuse of power. It's so everyone can enjoy
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've definitely bought things just because I wanted to read them. But most of the time it's worked out, and other people have wanted to read them too.
Well, because usually the things you want to read, someone else also wants to read.
That's right. All right, here are the graphic novels that I read. I read Poison X. I read Poison X and Venomized, which is like a Venom and X-Men crossover. Because I was on an episode of Previously on X-Men where we talked about Venom and the X-Men, and I don't know much about Venom, so it was. I learned a lot about the character of Venom.
Okay.
Do you know anything about the character of Venom?
Not that much, to be honest.
May I suggest Previously on X-Men, where you will learn a lot about Venom over the course of 2 episodes. I read Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. I know you love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. How do you feel about the Power Rangers?
Not a lot of feelings.
No feelings.
Not a lot of feelings.
Here's the thing. Crossovers like this are gratuitous in their like, here, take what you want. Here it is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This one hit. It was perfect. It was no notes. It was just like, this is exactly what I want from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers. Did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles get the Power Rangers coin and then morph into Teenage Mutant Ninja Power Rangers? Yes, they did. Of course they did. And it was beautiful. It was the thing of beauty. Was it high art? No. But did it hit exactly what I wanted in this crossover? Yes, it did.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
So if you like these franchises, do it. That's pretty much it. It's also Batman Day coming up, so I read Batman the Detective, which was like set a little bit in the future. It's sort of like a grizzled, retired Batman getting pulled into these different things. So I thought it was nice to see. Yeah, it was. It wasn't as effective as some of the others that do similar things, but I felt like seeing a different side of Batman and telling a different Batman story, like after all these years, is always appreciated. So, yeah, I liked it. Anything else on your reading list?
I'm also working on If on a Winter's Night a Traveler.
Well, I like the title.
Right? It's for a virtual book club with some friends.
Oh, okay.
And this is one that's like kind of like an experimental novel.
Okay.
That's like, what I've been told is that each of the different chunks kind of emulate a different genre or style of book.
All right.
But it's also like interspersed with chapters that are in the second person and they're addressing you, the reader.
Yes. Which
is very interesting. So we've read the first 2 chapters so far, and it's like the first chapter is all of like, oh, like sit down and get comfortable, tell everyone not to bother you because you're reading it on a Winter's Night Traveler and everything like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out in the long run using that format.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to find out.
Okay.
I'll have to update you all.
I would love to hear. Anything else just in your regular life? I mean, I know you're walking Crayfish through multiple stages of life, but you got anything else going on? Any new hammock trees you've discovered? Anything like that?
No new hammock trees.
Okay.
What have I even been doing?
You know what?
myself?
I don't have any answer to this. So if you, apparently I've done nothing of interest in the last month. We had a good Labor Day weekend. Had a nice cookout and some fun times. I saw Gran Turismo. I didn't mention that, but I saw Gran Turismo
cool.
based on the video game and the real life story. Do you know this story?
I think I've heard about it a little bit.
So, Nissan and professional racing decided, hey, let's find the best Gran Turismo player and see if they can actually race in real life. And they did. And
that sounds like so dangerous.
Person, and then the person ended up being really good at it, and it became a thing. So it was a really interesting movie to watch. And we took my son, who is 9, and I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to invest, but he was. He was all in. So yeah, I think it was a pretty good movie.
Nice.
But that's about it. Other than that, nothing much is going on. The Shop at Main, right on downtown, now has smoothie bowls, and that's the greatest contribution to
really
mankind in the last however long a smoothie bowls have been around.
Important information.
So they are delicious, and I recommend them. Do you like a good smoothie bowl?
I feel like I haven't had a lot of smoothie bowls, but those that I've had have been good.
Yeah, well, I recommend them.
I mean, it's hard to go wrong.
The Dragon Bowl is pretty good.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yep.
My friend Katie and I have started on a sewing journey.
Okay.
We started by
a Sew-journ.
Yes,
could we call it
Sew-journ?
Okay.
We started by trying to tailor some old bridesmaid dresses that we had and make them so they'd be easier to reuse just in regular life.
Okay.
And I think we've succeeded, and we've also been experimenting a little bit with some of the scrap fabric. So I made a skirt that I think works and is mostly the hem is not too uneven. No one will notice that it's uneven except for me, sort of
now
situation.
I'm gonna know.
I just won't tell you which skirt it is.
Yeah, you'll always just have to lean one way or the other.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But we're now planning to get some fabric and kind of start from scratch and try and make other skirts and dresses and things.
Yeah.
And we both know how to operate a sewing machine and know the basics, but not much in terms of advanced sewing. So it's an adventure.
Okay.
But so far, I'd say we're succeeding.
That sounds good. Well, we're in the midst of library card sign-up month, so if wherever you are in the world, whether you're local to the David A. Howe Library or somewhere else out there, if you don't have a library card, now's the perfect time to come in and get one.
Absolutely. There is some library near you that's just waiting.
They would love to have you as a member.
Absolutely.
They would love it. If you are local, Kate and Ally decorated the Chamber of Commerce window and shed probably 10 pounds just in sweat.
Oh my gosh.
Just being in
it was
that
a
window.
greenhouse effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which once I was in there, I was like, it does make sense that this would be a greenhouse effect with all the glass and the sunlight and everything, but didn't plan ahead.
Yeah, I've been in that window before, and I was like, "Whoa, this can't be healthy for a human body." So, but the window looks great, so you can stop by and see.
It was all worth
chamber
it.
Window, yes. Okay. Well, Allie, my hold for season 1 of Joan of Arcadia literally came today.
Excellent.
So I haven't watched a single episode. So now I've only got 2 weeks to get in on it, but I'm excited. My wife is excited. So we're going to do it. So if you want to watch along with us, we're going to be discussing Joan of Arcadia. The goal was the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Right.
So we'll see how deep I get into it. But that's what we're going to be talking about next time. So if you want to watch with us and share your thoughts on social media, you can find us David A. Howe Public Library on Facebook or D.A. Howe Library on X, as Twitter is now called. And then we also have a Tumblr, so you can find us in all these places.
Yes. So many ways to talk about Joan of Arcadia.
Finally, we're providing an outlet for all those Joan heads to come and talk to us. So yeah, I haven't decided your next assignment. So I also in the next 2 weeks I have to decide what to make you watch. You give me a lot to think about just in this episode alone. So we'll see where that ends up. But until then, go get your library card, folks.
Absolutely. See you, everybody.
Bye.